In general use, the Google definition for the word masochist is a person who enjoys an activity that appears to be painful or tedious. I wouldn't necessarily say painful. I'd definitely go with tedious, because what I've done is I ran the same mission 50 times in the Division 2. I chose American History Museum. It's a mission I'm very familiar with. It doesn't take too long compared to some other missions. I ran it all 50 times using the Pestilence only, and I put it on challenging difficulty. My goal with this was to see how many exotics I could obtain, and on challenging difficulty, it's a 5% chance of the boss dropping an exotic. Throughout this run, or these runs, I actually started coming up with my own rituals and things like that. Like, I would only replenish ammo from the crate outside the boss area if I had less than 700 rounds. It got quite strategic. I started making little plans as I was running through. If you guys want to see any other crazy videos like this, for an example, obtaining 50 exotics, anything from other games at all, then let me know in the comments. And the reason I mentioned masochist at the start of the video is because I actually had fun for around 25 to 30 runs. I then did get quite bored for a few of them, but then the fun kicked in again when I knew it was coming to an end. It was kind of like a relief, as if to say, yes, it's done. You will be able to see through this video that the entire thing is legit if you keep an eye on my shade level. Luckily enough, I don't know how I've managed to do this, but on my 50th and final run, I did reach season level 100. And this took a very, very long time to put together. All 50 runs took a total of 7 hours, 7 minutes. That's just recording footage, breaks and stuff in between. It's taken a very long time. So if you could take 2 seconds to subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video if you enjoy it. All support on the channel is greatly appreciated, and make sure you turn notifications on if you want to see other stuff like this in the future. So with all that said, this is running the same mission 50 times in the Division 2, and the only thing I did in preparation for this was put on my favourite outfit in the game, the trash outfit, and that's when it all started. So, run number 1, not too much to it. It took me 7 minutes 46 seconds. There were a couple of hiccups. It's my first time running American History Museum in a while. And because my goal was to try and get as many exotics, every single run I am going to mention whether I got one or not. And in run number 1, we had no exotic. Run number 2 then took 7 minutes 1, so it was much smoother. I was running a little bit faster, but again, at the end of it, no exotic. Run number 3 was a boring run, no exotic or anything like that, and we also found out upon mission completion, we're not even being awarded gear anymore. As this progressed, they slowly started taking more and more away from me. Then run number 4, we had a very rocky start to the run. Again, no exotic, and this time, not even getting XP, just materials. So they took our weapons and gear pieces away from us that we earned from completing the mission. Then they took our XP, and they just gave us materials. Run number 5, I came across an incredibly rare bug, and the entire mission broke. I got stuck in a room and it just told me to secure the area. I had already secured the area, so that's a complete restart. That's time wasted on this incredibly long run. And then the follow-up one was a boring run, no exotic at the end again. Then we had a little bit of a turnaround in run 6. It was a boring run again, no exotic at the end, but we started getting awarded gear again. So it only lasted a few runs, and it's interesting the way they work out the end of the mission completion rewards. But then we jump into run 7, and it's a boring run, would you believe it? No exotic again. And then everything turned around in run number 8. We got an exotic, but not from the boss, not as a random reward for completing the mission, just off a random enemy, we got an exotic. We then progressed to the end of it to get nothing else whatsoever through the entire run. Run number 9, I got leathered by a heavy gunner. These pop up quite a lot through this. They were my biggest threat, they're basically my nemesis. They have been for a very, very long time. But yeah, leathered by a heavy gunner. And then I also had to take a 5-minute break because my son was sick. But we got rewarded for it because we come back to the mission, we carry on, and we get an exotic off the boss. Then for those of you unaware with how the Division 2 works, with the 5% chance, the drop chance on challenging difficulty that I mentioned, you can get an exotic to drop from the boss like we did in this run. That exotic is always going to be the same. So in this case, the final boss of this mission will award a tardigrade. You can, however, upon mission completion, randomly get awarded a random exotic from the loot pool. But that was our second exotic in 2 runs. We've had a random one and we've had a main boss one. Then we jump into run number 10 and we have our very first surprise heavy. These come in quite often, a lot more often than I thought they was going to. And this one goes by the name of Tom. So Tom jumps in, surprises me out of nowhere because the enemy spawns or whatever you want to call them, they are random in this game. So you can run a mission 1,000 times and the enemy spawns are going to be different every single time. But Tom decided to show up, got his ass handed to him. We get to the end of the mission, no exotic. Then we move on to run 11, and this run was another boring one. Besides, Henry decides to show up in the jungle section of this mission. So we wipe the floor with Henry, and we get to the end of the mission, no exotic. Then number 12, we're back to what we've had a couple of times previously, and it happens a few times more. But yeah, boring run, no exotic, no nothing. Then we move into run number 13, and there was nothing special about this run whatsoever. Besides the fact that our friend Gary, the heavy that spawns in when the door opens towards the end of the mission, Gary decides to jump up and stand on the table like an idiot because it leaves him open to take more shots and get deleted faster. After taking down Gary and all of his friends, we get to the end, no exotic. Then on to run 14, we lose a battle to a heavy gunner, we get our ass handed to us. Then we go and we catch up with our good friend Gary, and he's standing on the table again. I can't remember how many times exactly, but Gary loves that table. But then we move into run number 15, and this one, the end of it is just, look at the fog, the state of it, how heavy that fog is. There's different weather all the time. It's a surprise when you walk out of that final door outside and you don't know what is going to be in front of you. And in this case, not much because the fog was so heavy. But we did have a close call during this boss fight, and then we get no reward for it. There's no exotic. Then in run 16, we get killed again, or we get downed again by a heavy gunner, because you know they are the strongest things in these missions. We then make it to the end, and yeah, this time there's no heavy fog. It's just really, really bright. You can barely see a foot in front of you, where the sun is trying to burn your retinas. But we have another close call at the boss, and again, no reward. There's no exotic in run 16. Then in run 17, I got deleted by a heavy gunner again. It's actually getting quite embarrassing. Then I made it to the end, and for my troubles, nothing. No exotic. Then run number 18, the first time this has happened in the runs, I got shocked. Then as we make progress through the mission, I have a close call with a heavy gunner. The surprise is a heavy gunner. And then, oh no, wait, I got downed by a heavy gunner, as if they couldn't cause any more trouble. We make it to the end, no exotic. I mean, it's kind of sad at this point. We're coming up to halfway through these runs, and we're not getting any rewards for the trouble we're going through. But what makes that even worse, we jump into run number 19, and the boring run, no exotic. Then we make it to run number 20, and right at the beginning of the mission, there's a shotgunner wanting to climb inside me. Then I have to take a little break further in because my son Archie woke up needing a poo. And then it's not the heavy gunner this time, it's the heavy gunner's friends. Yeah, I got downed again. This is the 5th or 6th time I've died in these runs. Then we have another close call with some enemies, and again, no reward for all the trouble we're going through, no exotic whatsoever. Run number 21, another boring one. Would you believe it? We're 21 runs in and we're still getting the boring runs quite often. Nothing exciting happening whatsoever. Again, as you can guess, make it to the end, no exotic. Then run number 22. We only have one close call throughout this whole mission. Then we make it to the end, no exotic. Then run number 23, things start turning around a little bit again. We do get shocked near the start of the run, but then as we make progress through, boom, random exotic. Pops up out of nowhere, not expecting it at all. When we get to the end, we don't get a boss exotic, we don't get a random one for the mission completion, but then we move into run number 24, and this time Adam the Heavy wants to come out as a surprise. Another surprise heavy. But again, we make it to the end after getting rid of Adam and all the trouble, and no exotic. Now run 25, we have a close call with Gary. Gary's not very happy with us, but it was only a close call, never downed me or anything like that. We managed to get rid of Gary, made it to the end, and again, no exotic. Then we move on to run number 26, and would you believe it? Nah, it's not no exotic, we actually got one. The main boss dropped us an exotic. I don't know the count at this point, I just tallied up the final amount, I never kept track of it as we were making progress. But that's everything that happened in that run. No random mission completion exotic or anything like that. And then we move into run number 27. We did get ourselves the busy little bee, which does not count towards the total. That was part of the seasonal progress. And again, throughout that mission, the boss, the mission completion, no exotic. Now this one is a little bit different. Run number 28. We get a double heavy spawn. So I've written down on my little list a surprise double heavy. But these two, Nigel and Kieran, they're no trouble for us whatsoever. Both of them completely destroyed. Get out of my face, out of the Division 2. You are done for, both of them. And after getting rid of Nigel and Kieran, making it to the end, no exotic. Then we move on to run number 29, the boring run again, and would you believe it, no exotic. Then moving on to number 30, the 30th run out of 50, we get a nice surprise from Yuri the Heavy. Then we make it to the end of the mission, but we did get rewarded for it because we take down the boss and boom, get ourselves an exotic. Then run number 31, I hate to do it, but boring run, no exotic, nothing at all. Run number 32, we have Oliver the Heavy coming out this time. But not only that, Gary wanted to make another appearance, jumping on the table. So we've had lots of different heavies randomly showing up whenever they want to spawn. Gary will not leave the tabletop alone. And then we get to the end of the mission, just to top everything off. We take down the boss, nothing. We get mission completion, nothing. No exotic in run 32. Then we move on to run 33. We have another surprise heavy, and I mean, it's only fair to say their name, so Uriel decides to join us. So we have a surprise heavy. Then later in the mission, we have a close call. I don't know how many I've had through these runs now, but luck really was on my side. I mean, it was temporarily, because we get to the end and I get downed again. We get back up, we carry on with the mission completion, no exotic. Run number 34. At the start of the mission, we have a close call. The enemy spawns are all over the place at this point. I can't tell whether they're going to come from the front of me, behind me, or even above me or below me. At the very start of this mission, you've either got a shotgunner that runs around behind you, you've got a heavy gunner that lays down on the floor, you've got an engineer doing what he wants to do. I think you get the point. But the close call at the start of this run. Then we have another surprise heavy. This one's called Fred. Yes, they've all got names. They have names for a reason, which we'll get to at the end of this video. After taking down this surprise heavy, after taking down Fred, we get to the end of the mission. No exotic. Surprise, surprise. I really wish at this point the exotics would be as surprising as these heavies spawning. But then we move into run 35. We get Bloody Knuckles, another exotic, which does not count as part of the season progress. But then I heard it for the first time in these runs. An enemy was rude to me. I'm gonna fuck you up. There was only one thing I could do, is just wipe their existence off this earth. They totally got what they deserved, and then, surprise heavy again. Owen makes an appearance. And then after dealing with Owen, getting rid of all his friends and everything like that, we make it to the boss. We start making our way outside, and again, really, really bright. So we've had heavy fog, we've had like blinding weather. I think we've had that a couple of times. And we get no reward for it ever, because again, no exotic. But then we move into run 36, and again, yes, it's embarrassing, it's only challenging difficulty. But I go down at the end, And yeah, this time Rob the Heavy decides to show up right at the end of the mission. After the down, which is embarrassing, I'm going to point that out every time. After the surprise heavy, or should I say Rob, yet again, no exotic. No main boss, no random enemy, no mission completion, no nothing. Then at run 37, I had a little break between 36 and 37. I came back, had a bit of a rocky start to this one. A nice little close call to add to the list. Make it all the way to the end of the mission, and the game decides to kick me in the teeth because I don't get an exotic. Nope. What I get is a weapon known as the PP. So the game decides to give me a PP on my 37th run, as if things couldn't get any worse. Then we move into run 38, and we this time have Will, the surprise heavy, decides to join us for a little fight. Obviously, we won the fight. And after we've dealt with Will, I had to pop to the jungle and show off some of my Matrix skills as an RPG went flying past my head. And I thought, if there's anything in this game that's going to reward me for my efforts, doing something from the Matrix is going to be it. But no, we get to the end, no exotic. Then we move on to run 39, and Anthony, the surprise heavy, wants to join us, get deleted. We make our way to the end of the mission, and finally, we get another exotic. The boss drops us a tardigrade out of nowhere. Then run number 40, 10 runs away from the end. And this is where it kind of went from enjoying it for the first 25, 30 runs. Then it went to, oh, this is getting a bit tedious. And then it started picking up, like, yes, I'm getting close to the end. Got to like 40, 41, is like, oh, I've still got to do 10 more. And it was only when it got to like 47, I was like, yes, there's a few more, then I'm done with it. But run number 40, I don't know how this happened, where it came from, but we had our very first named item just randomly drop. And I mean, I don't know if I did have any more. I don't recall having any more previously. So I do believe this is the very first one. It took 40 runs of this same mission to get a named item. And I mean, it wasn't worth it at all. We made it to the end of the mission and got no exotic. But it was nice to see something different. Then run number 41. Yeah, I mean, if there was a next level to embarrassment, if embarrassment was level 1, then there was something higher. This would be exactly it, because I actually wiped. I got downed, lost my revive hive, and got downed again. So as a full-on death, just luckily and challenging, there are checkpoints, so I didn't have to go too far back. And I mean, I kind of deserve it for this one. I really should have played a bit more smart, but I got to the end, no exotic. Then run number 42, nothing much to say besides I got the Ridgeway's Pride. It doesn't count. It was from an exotic cache, which I got for season progress. Mission completion, random enemies, boss, nothing. No exotic in this run. Then we're back with another one. Run 43. Boring run, no exotic whatsoever. Then run number 44. We have Tiago, the surprise heavy, deciding to show his face around this area and start a fight. I mean, at this point, there's only a few more, but I mean, I've dealt with everyone. I don't know why they're still showing up. But after dealing with Tiago, making it to the end of the mission, no nothing. Again, no exotics. Then run number 45, Gary decides to jump on the table yet again. I mean, that's what, 3 or 4 times that Gary's done this now? But we make it to the end after his little display and no exotic. Then run number 46, a very quick one. All we had was heavy fog at the end, no exotic from the boss, no random enemy, no mission completion. I'm starting to think this game really hates me at this point. Then we move into 47 and it further proves my point of the game hating me. Boring run, absolutely nothing special happening, no exotic as well. Then run 48, we are getting very close to the end. And at the start of this one, Cooper the Heavy decides to show his face. It's just easy to get rid of Cooper, no issues whatsoever. Then at the end of the mission, we have Hazel showing up. We have another heavy, so 2 surprise heavies in this one as well. But after getting rid of Hazel, killing the boss, completing the mission, no exotics. Then run number 49, we have another surprise heavy. This one's known as Isaac. So we've got Isaac, the surprise heavy, gets his ass handed to him, gets to the end of the mission, take down the boss, mission completion, nothing. No exotic. And then would you believe it, in run number 50, we have one more surprise heavy that wanted to come join us. This one's called Nick. So we have Nick the surprise heavy. And then we get to the end, we have no exotic whatsoever. I mean, that makes it a lot of runs consecutively with nothing to write home about, basically. Just a bunch of surprise heavies, boring runs, heavy fog, Gary dancing on the table. But that does bring us to the end of our 50 runs of American History Museum in the Division 2. This was supposed to start off as 100, but as I got about 20 runs in, I realised that it's not going to be fun for that much longer. So I decided to cut it in half and do 50. If you guys have enjoyed this, we'll come back, we can do some more, do a different mission, we can do different things in the game. I actually overall, and call me a masochist, I actually overall had a lot of fun recording this one. And then coming up with a way to kind of turn it into a little story at the end. So just a very quick recap before we get into why I gave the heavies names. We had random exotics on 2 runs, run number 8 and run 23. We then had main boss exotics on run 9, 26, 30 and 39. Meaning overall we had 2 randoms, 4 boss exotics, 6 altogether, because we're not including the ones from season progress. We had a Bullet King, we had a Merciless, and we had 4 tardigrade chests. Now, if you have made it this far, and you've had any enjoyment from the names I gave the heavies, there is a reason behind their names. I don't know what made me think of this, but if you take the first letter of every heavy's name, but you put Gary's right at the end, because he just showed up time and time again, he's there every single mission guaranteed. Every single run. If you take the first letter of each name, it spells out thank you for watching. So you've got Tom, Henry, Adam, Nigel, Kieran. That's thank. You've got Yuri, Oliver, Uriel. That's you. Fred, Owen, Rob. That's 4. Then Will, Anthony, Tiago, Cooper, Hazel, Isaac, Nick, Gary. That's watching. So I'm going to leave you guys with that note. I appreciate the support on the channel. The support's been incredible for a long period of time now. I've made so many friends doing this, and there's going to be plenty more wacky videos like this coming soon. So any suggestions, leave them in the comments, and check out this video if you want to see other content on the channel. I will see you in the next one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.